Good evening and welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Meenakshi Upreti and we're starting this bulletin with a very heartwarming story. Over the course of the next half an hour, we'll be focusing on an extremely inspiring story of an 18-year-old girl. Yes, I'm talking about Stuti Khandwala. She's from Surat and she has achieved a rare feat. She's cracked the extremely competitive exam. Not one, not two, but all of the competitive exams, starting from NEET, JEE, AIMS, as well as the JIP MER exam. Khandwala even got a scholarship from the prestigious Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the United States. And of course, on the one hand, while we have these true geniuses in India, we also have some other parts of India where there are massive cheating cases, cash for mark scandals, which are, coming to the fore. Remember, the political science topper from Bihar who called political science prodigal science, if you remember that, and that musical topper who couldn't even answer basic questions about the basic sur and tal. The question really right now remains is how do we reward these real geniuses of India? Alright, that's the big story which we will be of course tracking for the course of half an hour, and as far as we'll be so we'll be discussing, of course, her feat. We'll also be looking at how we can stop the brain drain from happening in the country. For that, we have many guests lined up. Harish Bijur, he's a brand guru, joining us, of course, from the National Capital. We also have Sandeep Deshwal. He's an industrialist, joining us from our Gurugram studio. Jitin Chawla, educationist and career counselor, will also be joining us shortly, and we'll also be joined by the woman of the moment. Yes, Stuti Khandwala, the genius girl who's cleared all the entrance exams, really stunned us all, inspired all of us. We are literally in awe of her. She'll also be joining us on the broadcast really shortly. Alright, but let's start this debate to begin with. I have Harish Bijur, of course, he's a brand guru. Sir, when we speak about this mean feat, this rare feat which this girl has achieved, certainly it is a very inspiring moment for her, but end of the day we do know her decision. Despite of clearing almost every entrance exam in India, she's decided to go abroad. Brain drain really has been one issue which really has all of us concerned. How do you suggest, you're a brand guru, what do you suggest maybe these Indian brands should do, Indian institutes should do to ensure that students, Indian bright students, who are achieving such rare feats end up choosing our Desi institutes over these MITs and Oxfords abroad?
Well, firstly, I must say that, Stuti's achievement, like the achievement of all those who have taught, is brilliant. And I think this talks about a new India, an India where, students actually excel. However, I have a point to say that, water has a way of finding its own level. So I do not believe we must be jingoistic about retaking back brilliant students, because if students do believe they need to go abroad, they will come with me. And I think the world today is flat, and students will go out from our country, and hopefully students will enter into our country from other countries and will want to contribute to the economy of this country as well. But simply, as a short-term measure, I would like to say that students going out we must encourage. Possibly we must create a magnet India which will attract these students back at a fixed point.
Alright, sir, do stay with us. We have really the woman of the moment, Stuti Khandwala, who has just joined us on the broadcast. Stuti, first of all, congratulations. It's an extremely inspiring feat which you have achieved. You have cleared not one, but I believe all entrance exams from MBBS to, of course, all engineering, the most competitive exams in the country, including, of course, MIT as well abroad. But the one question which everyone wants to ask you really is that how did you, to begin with, achieve this feat?
I was very clear with my vision from the beginning that I want to take all the opportunities possible. I love maths and biology both, so I did not want to leave any one of them. And basically, सबको ये पता होना चाहिए कि इसका सिलेबस ऑलमोस्ट सेम होता है सबका. It is the core syllabus that we study in the school. So I only revised my NCERT textbooks thoroughly again and again and solved the past year papers. So जैसे मैं papers करती थी तो उस exam का flavor आ जाता था और 15 दिन में मैं exam दे देती थी. It was actually not that hard जितना अब सुनने में लगता है.
Actually not that hard, so you say, but there are many who struggle really to even clear these exams, let alone, you know, master all of them. But you've also been welcomed, I believe, with open arms, of course, with the marks you've achieved, with all these entrance exams you've cleared from almost all big institutions in the country. You've cleared everything, as we were mentioning earlier, from JEE to NEET. Finally, have you decided, are you sure that you're joining MIT?
Yes, I'm almost sure I'm going abroad now.
Alright, I don't want to influence your decision, but could you help us understand any specific reason to join MIT or to go abroad?
If I wanted to stay in India, I had to do medical or engineering.
Alright.
And I did not want to specify myself from this very point because I love all the subjects and I'm so sure that if I want to pursue research, I will need all these subjects all my life. I mean, I will be missing components if I skip biology, skip maths, something like that.
Alright, fair enough. So, you know,
I want to take all these subjects, so I'll probably be doing C.
Right, and Stuti, you know, as we were discussing earlier, this mean feed, you say it's extremely easy. Could you give 5 tips for students maybe who are watching this broadcast right now? How do you deal with stress? How to really master these entrance exams?
Your decisions at any point of time, but please understand that you should come out of that phase of regretting and just take what life has to give you. Second is when you're giving all these exams, it might happen that you lose your confidence in after you see the questions, but believe me that in those 3 or 3.5 hours, if you lose your confidence, if you lose your mind, then you're anyways going to lose the entire exam. So you should be very sure that you keep your mind cool and calm and attempt those questions as much as you can. You push yourself to the fullest because you know that you are going to get your dream after that. The third thing is taking pressures is never going to help. I mean, yeah, you were saying something.
No, Stuti, go ahead. You're talking about how to tackle pressure.
Yeah. Yes. So, there is no point in taking pressure. I mean, I always believe that taking pressure is very voluntary. And if there are people who are telling you कि ये करो, वो करो, इतना तो करना ही पड़ेगा, इतना तो होना ही चाहिए, you should know then तुम कितना कर सकते हो और तुम जितना कर सकते हो उतना तो तुम करके ही आना. You do not have to miss out on what your abilities can speak. It does not matter what people think before and after. You should be happy कि तुमने जितना किया उतना ही तुम कर सकते थे और उतना तुम करके आए वहाँ पर.
I think, you know, those are very helpful tips, Stuti, but, you know, many would say or would want to know from you your mantra for success. End of the day, yes, you talked about, of course, tackling the pressure. You rightly said that students should try not to get pressurized by parents or by, of course, their surroundings. But how did you, handle all this pressure? I'm sure you also must have had some pressure. You, end of the day, have cleared almost every entrance exam in the country. How did you handle all this pressure, overcome the pressure, and emerge, this successful?
Actually, I had a big role of my mom. She's my closest friend from the very start. And whenever I used to feel कि मुझसे ये नहीं हो रहा तो उसके पास मम्मी के पास जाती थी and she used to buck me up कि you know what, people believe in you and तुम्हें लोगों की belief पर खरे उतरना है.
Alright, Stuti, when we speak about your success, your accolades, they're also immense.
So,
you've scored
mom, yeah.
So you've scored 98% in your board exams as well. You know, when we speak about pressure, many students really find it difficult to maintain this balance, score well in your board exams as well, prepare for competitive exams as well. How did you do it? How many hours maybe did you study for? What would be the advice maybe you'd give students who are aspiring to do the same as you?
I used to study 12 to 13 hours a day, and that was possible because I did not have to give my time into sports or into anything else except studying. Of course, I used to watch Tom and Jerry videos and cooking videos on YouTube whenever I got tired, but that is the main pastime I did. Apart from that, all these exams cover almost the same syllabus. They are all based on your core curriculum which you are studying in 11th and 12th. It is not something different. It is exactly what is written in your textbook, what you have been reading both the years. Actually, what students believe that बहुत कुछ कर लेंगे तो बहुत हो जाएगा, but जो तुम कर रहे हो अगर तुम उसमें ही perfect नहीं हो तो जो एक दो question बाहर के आएंगे उससे तुम्हें कोई बहुत फायदा नहीं हो जाएगा. So I did only one thing, that is to revise my NCERT very, very thoroughly. I used to read it like 7 to 8 times. Whereas लोग उसको छोड़ देते हैं कि ये तो सब basic है, पर तुम्हें basic नहीं आता उसका क्या?
I think that's a very pertinent point you've raised, Stuti. And you know, as you rightly mentioned,
pay attention to your core.
Yeah, so you rightly mentioned students need to concentrate on NCERT, and a lot of the questions in these competitive exams are based on your school textbooks as well. But Stuti, you know, how many would say that you ended up, of course, as you said, studying for 12 to 13 hours. You've put in a lot of effort. Could you take us through your one regular day? How did you, balance really your time to relax? You said you watched Tom and Jerry cartoons as well, ended up studying 12 hours as well, going to school as well. Take us through one day in your life, how you managed, this balance, achieving marks in your board exams, preparing for competitive exams, and also finding some time for yourself.
So I never had a fixed schedule for myself. So maybe if I get up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and then I used to study till 8, and then I had to go to my school. So 8 to 3 was my school.
All right.
And then after that I got 1 hour to eat, to rest, and then I used to go for my coaching classes. I used to come back by 8:39, and then I used to relax. I mean, for at least till 10 o'clock. Then from 10 to 11 or 11:30 I used to study.
Yes.
But the main point is that when I was in school, we have a lot of free time in school which people, 15-20 minute के काफी सारे breaks मिल जाते हैं.
Right.
Even when teachers are not coming on time, काफी सारे breaks मिल जाते हैं. So I used to utilize all of those breaks, and I used to keep my textbooks along, and I used to keep reading. Yes, so last 3 years, I never wasted my seconds or minutes doing faltu ke kaam.
Unbelievable. So time management, you even used your breaks to study. I wish I had that type of dedication which you do. Of course, we are going to broad base what all we discussed with you. Stuti, do stay with us. I also have, of course, a lot of guests who have joined us from the studio, from outside as well. We also have, other than the guests I mentioned, Prince Kumar, CBSE topper of 2018, who's joined us from our Noida studio. Jyoti Gupta, he's principal DPS Ghaziabad as well. And of course, we also have, other than Prince and Jyoti, Stuti, who is, of course, the woman of the moment, as I've mentioned. And, of course, Stuti Khandwala, Sandeep Deshwal, and Harish Bijur as well. But before I go to the guest, Stuti, I have a few more questions for you, because end of the day, I've been repeating, at the cost of repeating myself. Everyone wants to take tips from you, understand how you have studied, how you've managed this sort of a rare feat. And, Stuti, I ask you again about how you've managed this sort of a rare feat. And, Stuti, I ask you again about this pressure which students have, especially when it comes to NEET. There have been unfortunate incidents in our country as well. I'm sure, as you are aware, we've had students who ended up taking their own lives, students who could not take the failure as far as NEET was concerned. Any tips? I know you're very young, but any tips really for students who are preparing, especially for medical examinations, because these are extremely high-stress exams?
I have always had this experience that if you discuss things with your elders, a lot of your inner conflicts get solved. So instead of going to your friends or anybody of your age or your younger siblings, it is the best thing is to go to your elders and discuss about it, because they will understand, because they have gone through all these things and they know what is right. They know how to tackle you, they know how to calm you down. You will never be able to get through all this yourself. So you have to take help from people who are mature, wise owls of our nation. They are so nice, so kind, and they will never blame you. I have never experienced that. They don't blame you. They are always there for you. So
yes, absolutely.
Talking to elders is like the best thing you can do in times. Yeah.
Did you do that, Stuti? Did you speak to your elders? Who was your inspiration? You earlier said, talked about how your parents were really the backbone. They pushed you, but at the same time didn't push you hard enough. Help us really, understand who was your inspiration, what inspired you, what made you give 12 to 13 hours, even utilized your, these little breaks, 10 to 15 minutes break, to maybe revise what you had studied earlier. Who was your inspiration? Who pushed you to study harder and to achieve almost the impossible, as many would say?
Actually, my mom is a fighter. She always had to tackle 2 houses. She had to tackle her mom, who is a factory of diseases. She had to tackle here her in-laws, everything. And I have seen that. मेरे बचपन से मैं हमेशा मम्मी के साथ हूँ. आई हैव सीन कि वो कैसे गाड़ी में भागती है, वो कैसे हर काम इतना एफिशिएंटली खत्म करती है, सबको खुश रखती है. सो ये जो एफिशिएंसी की बात है, आई ऑलवेज ट्राई टू इनकॉर्पोरेट इन माई सेल्फ कि मैं भी मम्मी की तरह बनूं. So my mom has been the greatest inspiration.
That's lovely. Really, our moms are the ones who are driving us. But Stuti, there's one question which I wanted to ask you earlier as well. Any plans to come back to India after your studies and to work back here? Because certainly we would like bright minds like you to work for the nation.
Most definitely.
So you have plans to come back. Any specific area where you are thinking,
yes,
of
actually yes. So I want to work on psychoneurotic disorders, which are schizophrenia, Alzheimer's. A lot of people, when I was young, I used to watch people outside from buses and trains. There are people who are going around just for no reason, and families abandon such people with mental illnesses. They don't get treatment in India. All these people, we don't even know when they die. And there are a lot of such women who with mental illnesses, and they get raped and they're lying blood-ridden on the streets. So all these things very much affected my inside, and I really want to work to make tools and technologies that could help such people, and that too under Indian economic status. And I want to reach out to that wide mass of people and really socially uplift India in that area.
Stuti, so
after my 15-20 years of study, maybe I'll definitely come back to India.
That's a very noble thought, and more power to you. I wish I had half the dedication which you have, but of course it's never too late to get inspired. So do stay with us. I was of course talking about all the guests who have joined us as well, and I have another genius with me sitting in the studio, 18-year-old young boy, Prince Kumar. You're the CBSE topper. We just heard Stuti. She was giving us tips really about how to tackle pressure, how to perform better. Any tips which you maybe have for the students?
Pressure. They don't have to take pressure of the studies. Like मैंने भी नहीं लिया, parents ने भी नहीं लेने दिया, तो pressure is the लेना चाहिए, इतना भी नहीं. Bad pressure और positive pressure में थोड़ा difference होता है, but bad pressure आपको consume करना चाहिए, but maintain करके रखना चाहिए.
अच्छा, आपने अब 12th तो अब top कर लिया है, CBSE तो आपने top कर लिया है. आगे का what are your plans? Do you want to maybe go abroad or study abroad, or what are your plans, future plans?
Future plans, I have taken admission in an engineering college.
Okay.
NSIT through JEE Mains. So my plan is to complete my engineering and do some research work in India.
I'm sitting with geniuses here, but we're also talking really about students really who choose to go abroad. We have, of course, Stuti, who's set an example. She's cleared almost all entrance exams which are there possible in the country. But at the same time, this zeal to really come back, serve the nation, work back in India is commendable. I mean, not like it's necessary, and I would not want to influence anyone's decision, but certainly that was a question which, of course, I was asking my guests earlier as well. Sandeep Deshwal, so you're an industrialist. What do you think? What should maybe the Indian government or Indian industrialists do to lure more students, our Indian geniuses who really go abroad, study abroad, to come back and work for the country?
Yeah, hi, good evening, and first of all, congrats to the young kids, boys and girls who, are the toppers and of course doing very well in their studies. So, as my point of view, that we all have to come together to stop the brain drain. Of course, the young kids, boys and girls, they go abroad to find the better opportunities and better studies there. So, but of course the government also have to take some steps to stop the young dynamic kids, and they have the great ideas that they can help the, make India great. So, of course, and the wealthy people as well, and the corporate as well. So they also have to, help as well, because government also have certain, limitations, so of course we all have to come together to stop the young, young guns to go abroad and stay there. Of course they can go for studies, but I think we all have to come together to build our nation as the a leading nation in the world, that we can provide the best best brain here, and we can provide the best facilities here and best opportunities for them. So we can stop them altogether.
All right, we need to stop the brain drain, make India great again. Jitin Chawla, of course, educationist, career counsellor, also joining us from the Noida studio. So, as a counsellor, do you have students coming up to you, those of course aspiring to study outside? What do they tell you? What are their intentions? They want to study abroad and then come back?
So, a lot of students increasingly want to go outside India. I do top schools in Delhi, North India, and outside India also. We go to schools and conduct programs, and we do aptitude testing counseling. In the last 10 years, it has changed dramatically. Why students want to go outside? Typically, it is a multicultural environment. Typically, like she goes to MIT, she'll have students from maybe 50-55 countries. Second, typically in the course, you can choose, you have a mix of options. So you can, even if I'm doing computer science, I can take up music, I can take up psychology. Like Northwestern Chicago has 4,300 courses. I can mix and match. Third, it is more practical. Fourth, these universities, we are talking about MIT, Harvard, University of Toronto, ANU. These universities are the top universities in the world. So their rankings are exactly on the top. I'm sad to say, but our IITs don't figure in top 100. So if a child like Stuti is getting an opportunity, she'll obviously go to MIT.
Why not? Fair enough.
And why? Because she has all the, and for me as a career counselor also, I want my children to go, whomsoever I am counseling, to the best places in the world.
Fair enough.
And the children are global children.
Absolutely.
And not only now, so many years back also, even Gandhiji also went outside.
And what's really wrong in that? And also, sir, I'd like to bring in Stuti into this conversation. Stuti, what made you decide? You seem to have this clarity of mind right from the onset that yes, I'm going to MIT, yes, I'm going to go abroad and study, but I want to come back to India. You've even chosen the field in which you want to work. What made you decide that you want to come back to India? Because there could be many students who may think that, if I go abroad, I'd end up earning, and if I end up working there as well, I could end up earning 10 times more than I can back home.
So my basic motive to earn money is to make my country better, okay? I don't want to earn for myself. I don't have any more expectations from myself except to make my India better. So
that's what made you decide that you would want to, of course, come back to the country and, of course, serve the country. That's, as I said earlier as well, a very noble thought. But, when we're speaking really about the institutes in India, is there a revamp also required? If you try to broad base this debate, Harish Bijroor, of course, is a brand guru, someone who helps build brands. Bijroor, of course, is a brand guru, someone who helps build brands. You were earlier talking about really what Indian institutes lack, what they really need to do if they want to be as competitive or as at par with these big institutes, maybe like an MIT abroad.
I think that all these rankings that people give to these universities are based on a lot of different factors. For example, how many research papers they are able to publish, how the research papers are doing in different magazines and things like that. But when education is concerned, I don't think that it is very different. The education is very different here as compared to abroad. The only one small factor that I thought was important is that I get a lot broader choice of mixing different kind of majors when I'm working. So I might be able to mix sociology with computer science and bioengineering and things like that, which is not very much possible here as of now.
That's exactly the point, Jitin, which you would also mention.
So in terms of universities, what they need to do here in India is make it more practical, build up, see, industry has to help institutions.
Yes.
Industry is typically always ahead of institutions. So, in fact, whatever is being taught, like today CRM is hot. So how many colleges are there who are getting into depths of CRM or what Salesforce is doing?
Yes.
Or today, let's say IoT is happening.
Yeah.
Again, how many institutions have taken on a lead? Some institution for namesake they would start, but their depth is still missing.
Yes.
And second, alliances with the industry.
Yes.
People do have some alliances. We are better than we were 10 years back, but still we have a long way to go.
Yes.
And third thing is faculty orientation. Faculty training is non-existent. In fact, at one of the meetings we mentioned about it, and there was an aggression from the faculty about that do we need training. So I think that humble approach where all teachers need to be trained at regular intervals is needed in India very strongly.
And you know, this is exactly what we were discussing earlier as well. Harish Bijnoor, of course, brand guru also is live with us. You know, Harish, we started the discussion with exactly this point, how there needs to be an overhaul in the Indian education system as well. Look, we have toppers and we've had some really borderline funny incidents where we've had toppers of political science who could not even write the word political science. Mass cheating, these cases also come to light. Do you think there needs to be maybe an overhaul into the entire education system? It needs to be more job oriented, more practical, or maybe we need to reward geniuses like Stuti, like Prince here to ensure that there is no brain drain, that they, you know, learn the best in India and this talent stays in India. All right, Harish, I'm not sure if is still with us, but Sandeep Deshwal, of course, still with us. Sandeep, if you could take that question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, Sandeep. So the question, of course, that I was asking Harish also was really that is there a need to overhaul our education system and to reward geniuses like, you know, Prince in the studio with us and, of course, Stuti?
Yeah, of course, you know, we have to look like, you know, we have to change our education pattern as well. Because if you see in America and some other countries, their education pattern is totally different than us.
Yeah.
They more focus on the practicality, and here, like, you know, we have the different pattern. And of course, one of our ed gurus, like he said, like, you know, education guru, that we have to also educate our trainers as well, then how to teach people, how to counsel them. And we have to, you know, look after our kids, our children's, like, who is very brilliant, and of course after doing very well in studies and they go abroad, of course they can go for a better future there. But, you know, let's see that we have to, we can open more opportunities for them in India so they can learn from there and they can come back and help the country to, you know, grow together. So like my example also, like I was in US for more than 15 years. I was running my company.
Yes.
I come back to India as well to help, you know, the young kids and of course, you know, help people here as well. How to train them skillfully, how to, you know, help them to grow in their respective fields. So of course we all have to come together, not only the government, the
so we all need to, the civil society as well, need to come together to stop brain drain. Fair enough.
The brilliant kids.
Right, fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. So let me also get in Jyoti Gupta.
We have to stop brain drains because if
yes, a point taken. Let me also get in Jyoti Gupta. She is, of course, principal of VPS Ghaziabad. She's been listening very patiently to this conversation. Ma'am, you know, who better than you to really talk about the education system in our country? We are discussing really about students who are choosing to go abroad, to study abroad, and it seems only fair. They have more options. They can mix and match, of course, more courses. It opens more avenues for their career. But what do you think? What do we need to do in India? Is there, do you think, a need for an overhaul as far as our education system is concerned? Do we need to make it, you know, more practical, more job-oriented to ensure that students maybe study in India and this brain drain, which we are seeing very rampant, of course, Stuti and Prince to want to stay and work in India, but this brain drain otherwise, which we are seeing, can be restrained?
So first of all, let me clarify that the children who are doing their schooling from India, they do extremely well all over the world. Whether they stay in India or they go to US or Canada or Australia, let me tell you, they are brilliant and they do extremely well. And that is because their base is from here. I was recently in US and let me tell you, all children who were there and even the professors, they said that the first year that the other children are struggling with their math and science and physics, etc., the Indian children do brilliantly well and they don't have to do anything extra in that first year. So that is one point that I wanted to make here. Second, where our education system is concerned at the school level, since we are all moving ahead and the entire world is grappling with the issue of what to do with these 21st century children, it is more skills and competencies that have to come into our curriculum, where we should be assessing the children for their skills and competencies, not for their knowledge only. So where it was cognitivism a little while ago, it is constructivism that we talk about today. So the children have to be trained onto that, and once that happens, then that gap will also be bridged. With the new education policy coming in and also CBSE revamping the entire curricula and assessments coming in, I'm sure we are in for great times. Now, bridging the gap between what happens abroad and what happens in India, of course, something like transdisciplinary curriculum, which is missing in India in most universities today. I'm sure they are also waking up to the idea that when the children major, they cannot major in one single subject. Because if you are an engineer designing the products and you do not understand the psychology of the people who you are designing it for, then it is pointless. So the children need to have a more integrated and they need to have a more holistic and wholesome experience while they are studying. That is number one. Number two, the Indian government on the other side should provide more opportunity to all these children. Now, somebody who is a 98% cannot crack the IIT doesn't mean that that child is not brilliant. So he has to have the options. So if he's not getting the IIT in India, he's going to MIT in US.
Point taken, ma'am.
And let me tell you, it's easier to get admission in MIT than in IIT.
All right, point taken. I'm running out of time completely.
Now is
Point taken, ma'am. I'm running out of time completely. And as I wrap this debate, I'd like to ask, of course, last words I'm going to give to Prince and Stuti, the two geniuses here. Prince, very quickly, because I don't have much time. What do you think? Do you think the thrust is more on getting marks than transdisciplinary, options? Of course, not available in India. But do you think the thrust really, till now, in the Indian education system is more on getting marks?
Yeah, the Indian education system is like based on mark system. Rather than on practical application or practical use of their knowledge. Like in the foreign universities, you have flexible classes, so you can choose your class hours, or in other hours you can do work, you can apply all the things you have learned.
So that flexibility, that practicability needs to come in the Indian education system as well. All right, on that thought, last question from Stuti. Stuti, away from this debate, I know that you give 12 to 13 hours, as you say, towards your studies. You have cracked almost every entrance exam. You have, of course, gotten to MIT as well. Now what? How are you celebrating? I hope you are relaxing now. Or are you, what are you up to these days, rather?
Oh, I'm watching movies. Oh, I'm watching movies after 3 years of no movie time. So I watched my first movie, Bharat, and then I watched MIV in Hindi. Yeah.
All right,
So I want to enjoy India before I leave it.
All right, Stuti, a point taken. We're very proud of you, and of course, Prince here as well. More power to you and other geniuses and students like you, really. Is there an overhaul of the Indian education system which is required? How do we stop the brain drain, really? Were some issues which we tried to focus in this particular debate. Certainly a very inspiring moment, at least for me personally, to be talking to these two geniuses. On that note, we'll slip into a short